at the end of the day, you know, it's just about doing something. And if you do something from a kind place where you're not just thinking about the animals, but you're thinking about the people too, you're going to be effective.
Hello beautiful beings, it's Rebecca, the vegan Pixie warrior. If you haven't visited my channel before, welcome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today I am showing you an interview I filmed a couple of weeks ago with a lady called Marisa. She is responsible for the film Vegucated, which in turn is responsible for me going vegan. So I was super excited to speak to her and super humbled that she agreed to come on to my channel and be interviewed about her activism and her reasons for going vegan. I hope you enjoy the video. So, hello Marisa, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to chat to you today and meet the woman that is responsible for me being vegan. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm just so thrilled to be here too. I mean, there's nothing like that feeling of having been the person to change someone's life in such a fundamental way. I mean, there's just no feeling like it. I'm sure, you know what it's like to have inspired other people, and just how that feels to be active, to be vegan or more vegan or whatever. There's nothing like it, is there?
No, nothing at all, especially when someone comes up to you and says they've gone vegan. I actually had a message from someone today saying, can you give me some Christmas recipes that are vegan because I'm having a vegan Christmas? And I was just like, brilliant. That's fantastic.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, it's really good.
Feeling. Such a great feeling.
So how did you become vegan? What was the catalyst for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in a German American family and eating all of the sausages and all of the pork and all of the meat and everything. And I thought vegans were just another species. I was like, okay, well, that's good for you, but for me, I need my meat, I need my cheese. So that just culturally, for me, I'm special, whatever. And I lived with vegetarians for 7 years, off and on. But it was when I went to my Unitarian Universalist church, and there was an English woman who used to show documentaries, and she would, try to get me to watch these documentaries with horrible sounding names. But then she asked me to see We Are All Noah, which is old. I mean, it's not even, you can't even see it anymore. It's an old Tom Reagan film, but it was all about factory farming and actually how animals are exploited across the board. And it was one of those, oh my God moments in your life, where that moment, everything changed. And I said to myself, okay, well, that can happen, but not because of me. And there at that screening, I met the woman who'd become my activist mentor and then my employer and my colleague, Mary Max. And she kind of took me under her wing. Within 3 months, I went vegan. I had brought a bunch of pamphlets with me on a plane, like, when you take a bunch of magazines on a plane board. Mm-hmm. And there were a few vegan things that I had gotten at that screening. So I had gone vegetarian at the screening, and I was just in the air and just reading. Oh my God, I can't believe they do that to the baby chicks. I can't believe they drag the cows away from their mothers, like the moment after they're born. And it just offended every of my sensitive sensibilities, like anything, that you think of yourself as a compassionate person, how can you not be offended by that? So that was a big aha moment. I went vegan, I landed, I was like, I'm vegan now. And Mary and I just started kind of volunteering. We did screenings of other people's documentaries, and then off we went. But it was so life-changing. As you know, it was life-changing, and it just changed the trajectory of my life. I met 2 weeks later, I met the man who would become my husband at a farm animal conference. So it was, it just changed my life in like the hugest way possible.
Yeah, I think every vegan's the same. It's completely flipped my life upside down. I don't even recognize the person I was before. And for anyone that doesn't know who Marisa is that's watching, Marisa made a film called Vegucated, which if you haven't seen it, watch it, share it with your family and friends. It's a brilliant film. It's available, I think, on Amazon Prime. I watched it again last night because I
Oh,
haven't watched it since I went vegan. So I was like, I need to watch it
so
again
what was
and
that
refresh.
like? What was that like to see it again after having had the experience and become an activist and all of that?
It was kind of different because I everything that you were talking about I knew, and I was like agreeing with it, whereas before it was all, it was a shock and awe the first time I saw
Yeah,
it. But it was good to
yeah.
watch it again. I enjoyed watching it again.
It's
And
but the products are so much better now, right? And like it just the whole world it's become so much easier,
yeah,
since then.
definitely. I mean, I've only been vegan for 3 years, and the difference in 3 years, but the amount of products that you had available. I mean, when was that film made?
That was, oh my God, in 2005.
So 15 years, yeah. And I know that there's been a big change in 3 years that I've been vegan, but yeah,
Yeah,
you have a lot over there, right? You have a lot of
yeah, we
choices.
have a lot. We have a lot. Yes, we do. We're really lucky. And especially in New York City. I mean, I'm in New York and I'm totally spoiled.
Yeah.
Totally spoiled.
And at the time, I think in the movie there was 126 restaurants. Is that right? How many is
I
that?
don't know. I don't think I'm going to have to count. Friends of Animals used to do a pamphlet. Now everything is electronic, so I don't know if I can find it. But also, since COVID, a lot of, unfortunately, restaurants have shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, vegetarian, not vegetarian.
Yeah, we're quite lucky that some of them have survived, but some of them not so much. So,
Yeah.
but we're quite lucky in Bristol. So you're based in New York. That's like my next question. So we'll move on. So when did how long between going vegan did you become an activist? How long did it take you?
Right as soon as I was, because Mary was my mentor in veganism. And I had a few other mentors too, where I would say, I'm going to this potluck. What should I bring? Because you don't know how to cook, you don't know how to shop, you just don't know. I mean, there's some people who do it gradually, and I've read some science saying that that's probably a little more sustainable, but I was not one of those people. I was just like cold turkey. Well, no, I was vegetarian for 3 months and then I went vegan. But anyway, yeah, so pretty much right after I met Mary, she sent me off to this conference, and I did anything that I could. Peter was always looking for people, so I was doing street demos. I was uh, in a Halloween parade, which is huge, as a lettuce lady, heading out, holding out pamphlets, passing out pamphlets. I did so many fur things. I did speak outs on the train, on the subway with Tal Ronan, who is like now the celebrity chef in LA. But we had this, we would go into subway cars and we had this fake skinned fox, and he had this under his coat, and he would tell people, hi, just thank you for your attention. And this happens in New York all the time. People always stop you, they ask you for money, they give you a spiel, whatever. So we were like one of those people. And then he like pulled out this fake skin. He was like, this is what your fur coat really is. And it was very graphic. And so, I mean, I would do anything that I could. Because film was the inspiration for me, that's what I was drawn to. So I hosted screenings of other people's documentaries all over North America. So, I mean, I would go into colleges, I would go into food co-ops, churches, whoever would have me, I
Yeah.
would come and talk about veganism. A feminist bookstore, I did workshops with Jasmine Singer on intersectional veganism. And I mean, back before that was like a word like
Yeah.
that people knew about, this was like 10 years ago. Yeah, and anywhere that I could speak out for animals, I did. And to this day, we were chatting a little bit before. To this day, I mean, it's just such a part of you. It just infuses every part of how you see the world and how you operate in the world. I think there's something that happens where over time, maybe it's less like traumatic and pressing, where you can have a little perspective. I don't know if that's been your experience, where you're still excited and you still want to do the work, but you're able to have more perspective and a little bit more compassion about where people are in their lives. Have you found
Yeah.
that to be the case?
I've loved doing street activism, and the reaction we get from people. And when you talk to someone and they say thank you, that for me is great. So, and then the point of this channel is to inspire other vegans to become active. That's what I want to do. I want to get more people out there doing things. So contacting schools, that's something I'd love to do. I work full time at the moment, so I try and fit it in later on, maybe drop my hours or something. But yeah, I'd love to do more talks and things. I think for kids, speaking to teenagers and kids, it's really empowering.
Yeah, kids are so open. They love animals, as we all know. And there are ways that kids can be kind, that parents, it's just a matter of just teaching them a little bit, when it comes to uh, not squishing ants, not catching bees. I mean, there are little things where, or if you're in a swimming pool, I used to be that crazy kid who would go around and just rescue whatever bug was in the pool drowning, and just if you teach your kids, just little kids, to think about the animal, then that really sets the stage, doesn't it, for a lifelong way of thinking about the world.
100%. Yeah, I wish, we said earlier, every vegan says they wish you went vegan earlier, but better late than never.
Yes.
What inspired you to make Vegucated?
I was sitting in Super Size Me. This was in summer of 2004. And I thought, well, now we know what not to eat. I would love for people to see a documentary of what we should eat that also covers the animal rights aspects, because there's so many documentaries about food and food policy that don't, it's health, 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 little environment, health, health, health. That's fine. But, I think once you learn the ethical component, there's a better chance that it will stick and people, will really make permanent changes. So anyway, I was watching that and I thought, well, somebody should really make this. And I brought it up to my boss, Mary, at the time, because we had started this nonprofit, Kind Green Planet, so that I could do these screenings and these talks. And she did all kinds of great activism too. And she said, well, let's make it ourselves. And I hadn't taken one film class. I had been a little actor, done little tiny films and little tiny, commercials and things. But so I knew how, to be on a camera, but I didn't know how to work one.
No.
I had never edited anything. And so we decided to do it. And I found a little intern at NYU Film School, Frank Mataska. He ended up starting as an intern, ended up being a co-producer. Like, he was integral. So he knew what what a release was. I didn't even know that people had to sign releases, to be on camera. So anyway, so that kind of filled in the gaps, and I had no money, no experience. So it took 5 years to really do it. And I think 7 years from the conception of the film till it was released. It took a long time. Yeah. But it's been, so rewarding.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones out there, 100%. I think so anyway. Maybe I'm being biased because it's my film that made me go vegan. But so are you still in contact with the 3 volunteers that were?
I am. Well, Ellen, the single mom, she has sort of fallen off the map a little. I mean, we're still connected on Facebook, but I don't really interact with her too much. Brian is out in California. He was, after the film, he was like kind of vegetarian or something, mostly vegan. And then after the film came out, he was inspired to go vegan all over again and become active. He met an animal activist out there in California, married her, and now they have 2 babies, 2 little vegan babies. So yeah, so they're doing great. And then Tesla married Harry, who's the boyfriend that shows up towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they and Harry also had an eye-opening experience where he had to do some work like above or near a live market, like one of those wet markets, not like a
stock market,
like a stock market, but in the city they have these peppered all over the city, where you can go in and pick your animal and they kind of slaughter it on the spot and take it home, whatever. And he heard the screams and he said he came home and he said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. So they're vegetarian, or I think maybe some shrimp or something, I don't remember, but they're mostly vegetarian. And they have a little girl who they're also raising that way as well.
That's good. It's good that you're still in contact with them as well, and that you had such an impact. So
yeah, and they impacted my life. I mean, without them, there would be no film. I think one reason why it did so well is because they were so relatable. I mean, it was not high budget. We filmed it right when there was the it was right on the cusp when everything was going high definition, but I didn't have the budget for a camera, like an HD camera. So we just shot it on whatever we could rent. And yeah, so it's obviously low budget, but I think it did really well just because, well, A, the topic is compelling and the timing, but also just those people are so easy to relate to and
Yeah,
fun to
really,
watch.
really relatable, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
How does it make you feel to know that that film has impacted so many people and made so many people go vegan, that you're responsible for that?
It's There's no feeling like it. I mean, I remember when I was making it, and it took 7 years. Every time I would get on a plane, I would say, "Please don't crash. I just need to finish this film. Please don't crash. I just need to get this out there. This is like an expression of who I am and everything. I want to be part of the cultural conversation around this. I want to save animals." And the plane kept not crashing, which is great, obviously. And it is, and then yeah, just to hear from people like you, it's honestly kind of spoiled me because now, like anything that I do, I love decorating cakes. I mean, it is just a passion of mine. Obviously vegan, and there's an activist component of that, like, oh, look at this delicious beautiful thing, how it's vegan. Obviously that's that form of activism, but having had the experience of making a film that changed so many lives, you're like, well, I want to do that again. So who knows, but it was no joke. I mean, it was a lot of work, and it was a steep learning curve, and it was very expensive. So it's not for the faint of heart making a feature, but it is absolutely doable.
So one of my other questions I was going to ask is if you had any blocks stopping you get active, but I don't think you have had any blocks stopping you get active.
No, well, I'll tell you, I am extremely privileged. I mean, to an excessive degree, where I was able to find an activist mentor who was married to a wealthy artist, Peter Max. I have one of his, let me see if I can turn this. Oh, you can't see it, but I have one of his pictures hanging. He's still alive and he's vegan. This is his style, but he did a lot of the like his style was the inspiration for the Yellow Submarine Beatles album cover.
Okay.
Anyway, so because of him and his wife, I was able to work on this film for years. And then my husband, who's an animal lawyer, he teaches animals in public policy at NYU, and he started all these animal law programs around the country. And he's a farm animal law expert, and he's also helps Farm Sanctuary and all these other groups in the US. Anyway, so we sort of connected, and he also has a day job as a corporate lawyer. And because of that, I've been able to do this work. Like you said, you wish that you could do that, do this full time. Well, it is just by happenstance, luck, privilege that I am able to do this. So I feel extremely lucky. But there are people who do, like you, who have jobs and are able to just squeeze it in, in
Yep.
these really powerful ways. And I think that's a more realistic example of activism, honestly, than mine.
I don't think it's any different. I think all activism is valid in my eyes, like whether you're, doing some leafleting or wearing a vegan t-shirt or out on the streets talking to people or writing a cookbook, which you've just done, right?
Yeah. So I sort of, when I was just trying to figure out what to feed my son, I have two kids, one is 8 and one is 5. I was looking at, online, I was looking at the baby food cookbooks in the store, and there was always like a page about vegetarian diets. And it was like, well, yes, vegetarian is doable, but you should speak to your doctor as if they've had any nutrition education. And veganism is just maybe to be avoided, like too hard or too tricky. And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, they're the same species as we are, they're just little. They're not like
No.
lions, I mean, they're little humans. Why is this not appropriate?
Yeah.
And now I've come to appreciate and understand that it does take a certain amount of resources and headspace to be able to do it, and accept and access to healthy food. And I think it is challenging. It can be really challenging for some people. So I appreciate that. But it is absolutely doable for
Yeah.
a large number of people. And most people who can do it don't. So I thought, well, let me, it was one of those moments where it's like, well, somebody should really do a cookbook for the really young kids. Because there are these family cookbooks, but they're not for babies or really toddlers. So, so it's like, someone should do that. And then it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, well, I guess I can do that. So I did. I got a co-author on board. She was like this kind of mother's helper that I was thinking of hiring her as a mother's helper, but she was just a really good chef. So I had my second kid. She did cooking while my daughter was crying. And around dinner time, she did cooking a few nights a week, 2-3 nights a week. And she was wonderful. We really got on. She was in a health environment and also ethical, but mostly health and environment vegan. So it was interesting to have that different perspective. But then we worked on this book, and it's out there. It's been out there since, I actually have a copy right here. It's been out since end of August. And I'm gonna do my little commercial here. So it's
Carry on.
Yes, thank you. So it's got, you've got your purees and you've got some lunchbox ideas that are like peanut safe. I don't know if it's like in the UK, but there are so many people have peanut allergies, and that it's like banned. We don't know nuts in our school. Yeah, and then we get a little older, and then this is, juices, healthy snacks, blah, blah, blah. But, and then desserts at the end. And today I'm actually gonna be making these holiday cookies. Yeah, but yeah, so that's what I've been up to since end of August.
That's good. And where is the book available to buy if people want to buy it?
Anywhere where books are sold. It is in England. It is, you can get it on amazon.co.uk if you want, or maybe just call your local bookstore and request it. Unfortunately, we don't have the metric measurements, which is annoying. But if you have, cups and table, if you have the American measurements, then you can use it, or use conversion tables.
I actually think a lot of vegans are probably used to the whole cup thing, because a lot
Really?
of the recipes I watch online, because I never used to cook. My husband is an ex-chef and he's done all the cooking. And then when I went vegan,
You are so lucky, by the way, to have.
Yeah, I am lucky. He's an amazing chef. But I got really into cooking because at the time when we first went vegan, he was commuting to work, and it was like a 2-hour each way commute. So he'd be back late, so I was cooking. And when I went vegan, I took such an interest in making sure that I was having the right foods and the right nutrients. But yeah, a lot of the recipes that I watched online use cup measurements. So I think people in the UK use that. I've got cute little Russian doll cup measurements, so they're smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
That's quite cute.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, you've got wonderful cookbooks too. I get a lot of ones from the UK too, and a lot of great bloggers there. And I saw one that there's like a British vegan cookbook coming out, I think in January. Is that right?
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's that? Is it just a
Remember.
general British?
It was like the Great Vegan British. It was like, it felt a little bit like a spin-off of the Great British Baking Show. It was like the Great British Vegan Cookbook or something like that.
I'll have to have a look for that.
And my husband's British, as you may have heard earlier when we were just figuring out the Zoom. And he just has a thing for like sticky toffee pudding and, just certain things that he loves.
Yeah.
That I want to, and Americans have veganized them a little bit here, but I don't know if I trust that, I really want like a British cook, to show how to make these British favorites.
Yeah, I love Gaz Oakley as well. He's really good. Yeah, avant-garde vegan.
Beautiful work. And I think he's doing well. I mean, it seems like he's doing very well.
He's doing really well. Like, I think his channel hadn't long started up when I went vegan, so it was quite small, and he's just exploded. And his cookbooks are fantastic. So yeah, really, really big fan of it. But my husband's a bit, like I said, he's a chef and he collects cookbooks. He wants a different cookbook for every day of the year, so he can cook from a different cookbook every day of the year. But we've still got all our non-vegan ones, and he wants to veganize the recipes in them. But we're having to move them away because we've got 5 shelves now of vegan cookbooks. So we'll have to, I think we've probably hit 365 by now.
I have 5 shelves of vegan cookbooks. I have a cookbook problem. Like, I could go into a support group and fully honestly say, hi, my name is Marisa and I'm a cookbookaholic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You like my husband then, who's exactly the same.
But you look like you got some nice books behind you there.
Oh yeah, these aren't my cookbooks, but yeah, we do have a problem with books. We've had to fill up the other side with another bookshelf because they were taken up, they were stacked, and I was like, I don't like them being stacked.
Stacked.
Yeah.
No, you can't get to them that way.
Yeah, but we comic books, and yeah, we're a bit, there's a lot of fantasy up there as well. So
We are fantasy people too. We are fantasy people too.
I think I've got almost every Terry Pratchett book. But yeah.
I'm reading something right now called Spinning Silver. It's so good. I just want to not do anything and read it. Sort of like a little bit of like a feminist fairy tale. I love it.
Oh, look that one up. So how do you fit your activism into your life? You sound like you're just full-time activist anyway, really.
Well, it's different now, with children in a pandemic with no childcare. It's hard. It's hard. But so I just funnel it through my children. I got my husband ordered Chinese last night, and the fortune cookie, it said something about like virtues are learned in the home. And I said, yes, they are. They are. That's my mother was the one who would teach us not to squish spiders and to, if an animal was injured, to help and things like that. And so that's what I'm doing for my children. There are so many wonderful books out there now. I'm also a children's bookaholic. I have like 7, 8 shelves of those because I used to be a children's book editor like way long time ago. And I just love picture books and I want to write one, but that's for the next interview.
Yeah, the next one.
In a few years. But no, they're wonderful books. A lot of them are, still self-published, which is frustrating because they don't have the channels of distribution, like Vivi, the super vegan books. We just got one. I got one this week called Junebug, No Life Too Small. There's What Farmer Sue Knew, which is a mother who wrote that about a dairy farmer who goes vegan. So so I'm channeling a lot of it, honestly, into my kids and into other children. I read, every year you're allowed, well, not this year because of COVID, but you're allowed to go in the classroom and on your kid's birthday, you read a book. And I've read some Ruby Rock books, for my son's birthday. And he wears all the vegan teas, he's an animal warrior. I mean, he really is. And he loves, the more unappealing, the more scaly, snaky, slithery, scary, the better. I mean, he's all the most loathsome animals he is fascinated in and champions. And I'm so proud of him for that. Like he made his teacher, he's in 2nd grade, watch a show called Wildcrats. Do you have Wildcrats? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. It's these 2 brothers who they jump into like a cartoon world and they're able to create install creature powers, these creature power discs, and they take on the superpower of different wild animals.
Okay.
And it turns so many kids on to animal, just to appreciate wildlife. And the villains are like a fashionista who wants to use them for fur and fashion. There's this chef who wants to cook all the most, all the animals, exotic animals. There's a construction guy, there's a lab engineering scientist guy. So I love that. I love the children's media that does it. So my son made his teacher watch this episode about tardigrades. They're like these little like microscopic animals that can survive being in space, being in like the deepest part of the ocean, in fire. Like they're these little and I just love seeing that spark being lit in children where they can really appreciate being part of a community of animals, and see themselves, as part of this interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. It's beautiful. And that includes humans too, obviously, we're not, this is all connected, and so, don't be a bully to anyone, sort of the message.
Yeah, I agree. So you're raising some little activists then, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. He takes it on. He's a super activist type. And my daughter she's more shy and reserved and private. So it'll be interesting to see her. But she's been having fun in the kitchen with me. She's inventing these vegan recipes. She just is like, oh, let's add this and that and this and then she wants to make vegan food for her class. So I think that's maybe going to be more her style. I don't know, she's 5, so who knows, but they're young, but it's really fun to see. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I love hearing UK vegan family. I love hearing about what their little
Oh,
boy does, and it's just amazing.
yes, I love Daniela. She's wonderful. I appreciate their activism so much.
Yeah.
That is one thing of having made this book is it's allowed me to connect to you and connect to all these people over the world. Now that we really are on Zoom, geography just doesn't even matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I was talking to my husband last night after I watched Vegucated, and I thought, do you know what? If I hadn't have done my coaching program at the start of lockdown, so I did like some coaching to change my mindset and be more productive, then I wouldn't have started my YouTube channel, and I wouldn't be sat here talking to the woman that made me vegan.
So funny. Remember when, I don't know, like, I mean, well, it was a career coach that got the ball rolling on the film where I won this grant. It was called a WOW grant. It was I was trying to be an actor, and she wanted, taking applications to coach people for this, WOW project. And I won. I had applied for the film. If it weren't for Janice Hoffman, thank you, Janice. I don't know if I would have made the film. It was just that extra kick in the pants that you need.
Yep.
Sometimes.
And what does it mean to you to be an animal rights advocate?
Well, I sort of have mentioned it before, but it's just it's a way of seeing the world and of just being clear about the relationship that you want to have with the other animals on the planet. It's about, extending compassion to those who have no power and no voice. It is by luck and privilege that, we were born into the bodies that we were born into. We could have easily have been, an ant or whatever. And just to acknowledge that and to also take responsibility for our privilege in this way, like here we have the power and the privilege to be able to speak out for those who have less power. And it's sort of like a moral obligation, I feel. And I see animal activism as an extension, as I said, of other values. And I've been talking about this more lately, but I'm really into family history. I really love genealogy because it's a personal connection to history. It like personalizes, and it also gives you a view of social evolution and how your family has evolved, and then it also can help you form a clear picture of how you want maybe your family immediately or the human family to evolve in the future. And looking back, it's kind of painful to see the systems of oppression that, one's family might have been a part of. And in my family, we owned slaves. I found, wills where people bequeathed people to their children. And, like here in a list of like a looking glass, then 14 people, and then, 9 barrels of wine. And, and it's shocking to see now, but I really do feel like in a generation or 2 or 3, it'll be shocking to look back and see how we've treated the animals.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time, but I do have compassion of where all of our ancestors came from. They, grew up in the context of where they grew up and how they grew up in the worldview of that time. But I don't want to be a product of my time, I don't think we should try to not be. We should see how far we've come, and use that to project, okay, well, what's next? And can we lead in that direction? And I think we can. And I think we are. And I think this movement is vibrant and exciting. I mean, it's frustrating in how slow it is, but I feel like so many movements are that way, right?
Yeah. I feel
Uh,
like it's starting to pick up again, you know. I do feel like that. My main frustration is there's just not enough people out there doing it. So I did some research before my channel, and a few of my friends got together and had a chat, and we reckon about 1% of vegans are active, and it's just too
well,
small a number.
active meaning how? Like how?
Like speaking out, doing, wearing a t-shirt or posting online, or, it's such, I actually know vegans that say that being vegan is enough. They've said that to me, and I'm like, but with what you were saying about looking in the future, have you seen Simon Amstel's Carnage?
Not yet, but I've heard amazing things.
Brilliant.
Amazing things.
You should check it out. It's really
Yeah.
good. It's set in the future, and it's just looking back at how we used to abuse animals, and it's brilliant. It's a mockumentary, but it's
I
it's
hear it.
funny,
I
but
hear it's so funny and so clever.
yeah,
I need to see it. It's on my list.
it's very clever.
Yeah.
And then just to end on, oh, go on. Sorry, what were you going to
No, go
say?
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just to end on, what would you say to other vegans to inspire them to become active?
I think I'm going to harken back to something that Ingrid Newkirk said that inspired me, especially in my early days. I didn't want to mess it up. It feels like, yes, it's an obligation to speak out for animals, but also feels like a tremendous responsibility, because they can't speak for us. And what if we screw up,
Mm.
And then so sometimes that would like hold me, I would hold back and I would say, oh, I shouldn't say something. I shouldn't do something. And then I saw her speak and she said, anything, do anything. And, I mean, yes, I think there are more effective forms of activism, and it's important, to think about and study, but at the end of the day, it's just about doing something. And if you do something from a kind place where you're not just thinking about the animals, but you're thinking about the people too, you're going to be effective. If you have kindness towards the animals and kindness towards people, it's going to work,
Yeah.
because you're living your values. And which is not to say that we are capable at all times of being particularly kind to all animals and all humans, I think we can, I think we can have compassion for ourselves, right? Like, there are times when I'm just angry that someone's wearing 40 dead animals, on a fur coat. And then I'm like, so one thing that I do, one little activist trick that I have that I've never heard anybody talk about. So I'm going to bring this up.
Yep.
We all have our phones now, right? So if we see someone wearing fur, if I see someone wearing fur, one thing that I'll do is I'll make a pretend phone call and I'll be like, hey, yeah, I just want to let you know, I'm just like 2 minutes away. I'm close to the bodega. If you want me to, bodega is like a supermarket in New York. It's like, so if you want me to pick anything up, oh my goodness, this lady in front of me. Oh, that's so sad. She's wearing like 40 dead animals. Oh, that's so sad. I just can't stop thinking about those animals. And I mean, I used to wear fur too, but now I don't, now that I know. And whatever. Anyway, so let me know what I can get. Okay. Just text me your list. Da 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 da. Okay, bye. Like I'll make a pretend phone call, and people, sometimes I'm just like, they're like kind of listening or whatever, or sometimes they steal up. But that's just one of my little tricks. I saw that you had the stickers. You put these stickers in your wonderful Days of Advent, Advent calendar of activism, which I love. Do that too. I would fold up and fur leaflets and put them in pockets of coats with fur in the store.
Yeah.
Little things that you can do, little stickers, little ways to just get people thinking.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for joining me. It's been lovely to talk to you, and hopefully people will be inspired to watch your film or share your film, or even get active with animal rights.
Yeah. And if you know of any family, that is trying to go more plant-ward, more plant-based, whatever, more vegan, let them know about the book and all the wonderful resources out there on vegucated.com. I have so many resources for parents, including great books.
Yeah, I will definitely drop all the links below in the description for all of that information, and people can grab it and find it.
Well, thank you. You've inspired me to like get back to my activist roots, and you know, it's weird in the pandemic, but it doesn't mean we can't do it. So it's nice to be re-inspired.
I've definitely struggled in the pandemic and lockdown and not being able to go out, but there's other things. So another friend taught me a little trick of writing out things on pieces of paper and folding them up and putting them in windscreens of cars.
Oh.
So then people get back, they think their car's been damaged or something, and then they open it up and it says, you know, this watch Dominion or watch Vegucated or this has happened.
Wow, that is so clever.
Yeah,
I
it's a
love
good
it.
little idea.
Yeah, and you know, and now so much is online and just posting wherever we can about whatever we can is great too.
Definitely.
So I hope you enjoyed that. Marisa is such a warm, wonderful and beautiful being. I just really love her and admire her, and I'm grateful to her, eternally grateful that I went vegan because of her. I want to say a massive thank you to my patrons that support me on my Patreon page. If you want to support me in getting out there and doing more activism and making more videos to help other vegans to become active, then hit that subscribe button, like and share this video, and I'll see you next time.